Okay, so what if I told you the CIA, yes, that CIA, wrote an actual official manual on how to leave your body, how to travel through time, and even how to understand the very nature of reality itself? Well, they did. And today we are diving deep into one of the wildest documents ever declassified, the CIA's Gateway Process.
So let me just ask you something. Look around. The room you're in, the chair you're sitting on, you think all of that is solid, right? You think your consciousness, your you, is locked inside your head? Well, according to this official, declassified report, the Central Intelligence Agency would tell you you're wrong.
And look, before you click away thinking this is just some conspiracy theory from a weird corner of the internet, let's get something straight. It's not. This is a real, honest-to-God document. It was buried for 20 years, but it was declassified back in 2003. And the craziest part? You can go to the CIA's own website right now and download it yourself.
So what is this thing? It's the CIA's Reality Map, a 1983 report on, get this, consciousness engineering. Yeah. This paper, written by a U.S. Army lieutenant colonel named Wayne M. McDonald, it's not about tanks or guns. It's basically a scientific manual on how to engineer the human soul. So why was the military writing this? What was the mission? Well, it was shockingly direct. They wanted to know, is astral projection real? If it is, how does it actually work? And most importantly, could it be used, could it be weaponized as a tool for military intelligence? Right, so this brings up the obvious question. Why on earth would the U.S. Army care about out-of-body experiences? Well, it all comes down to Cold War psychic fears. This was the race to weaponize the mind. You have to remember, this was the height of the Cold War. It was this time of insane paranoia where, every shadow could hide a spy. And the next big battlefield, well, it might not be physical at all. So here's how it all went down. Back in the 70s, whispers started circulating in the intelligence community. The Soviets were apparently working on something called psychotronic weapons. We're talking psychic spying, mind control, the whole shebang. The U.S. got terrified of falling behind in a psychic arms race they barely understood. So by 1978, the Army started pouring money into consciousness research at a place called the Monroe Institute. This led directly to our guy, Lieutenant Colonel McDonald, submitting his assessment in 1983. And of course, the report was deemed so sensitive it was immediately buried, and it wasn't declassified until 20 years later in 2003.
Okay, so how in the world does the report claim any of this is even possible? This is the key part. It's not about magic or mysticism. McDonald lays out what he presents as a purely scientific model for hacking the hemispheres. It's the science of leaving your body.
All right, buckle up, because the first big idea in this report is a doozy. It basically says that the material world, it's an illusion. The theory is that we live in a holographic universe. Everything we see and touch isn't solid. It's just energy vibrating at different frequencies. And our brain? It's not creating our consciousness. It's more like a receiver, like a biological radio that's just tuning into the one frequency we call reality. But here's the thing about our brain radio. The signal's usually a little fuzzy. Why? Because the two hemispheres of our brain are almost always out of sync. You've got the left hemisphere, which is all logical, linear, skeptical, the do your taxes part of the brain. Then you've got the right hemisphere, which is creative, intuitive, and spatial. These two are basically never on the same page, and that's what keeps us locked into our normal, boring, everyday perception of reality. So the key to unlocking this whole thing is a process called Hemi-Sync. Here's how it works. First, they introduce Binaural Beats. That's just playing a slightly different sound frequency in each ear. This simple trick forces the brain to synchronize its left and right hemispheres. They start working together, and when they do, the report claims it produces this incredibly powerful, laser-like signal of consciousness, a signal strong enough to literally expand beyond the limits of your physical body. But leaving your body? That's just the beginning. That's just step one. What's truly wild is that the report provides a detailed map of where you can go next. It's a journey through different focus levels, beyond time and space. Okay, so the path of consciousness starts at what they call Focus 10. This is basically mind awake, body asleep. You know that feeling of sleep paralysis? That's kind of it. Your body is totally still, but your mind is hyper alert. Then you move to Focus 12, which is expanded awareness. This is where you supposedly start perceiving energy fields and things outside of normal reality. But then you hit Focus 15, and this one is called the state of no time.
Yeah, you heard that right. The report literally says that time travel is possible for human consciousness. It is absolutely staggering. At this level, your consciousness is apparently freed from the normal flow of time. You can view the past, you can see possible futures. Let that sink in for a second. An official U.S. Army document written for the CIA explicitly states that time travel is a real, achievable thing for the human mind. But believe it or not, even time travel is just a stepping stone. All of this, it's all building to the single most reality-shattering claim in the entire document. We're about to unlock page 25 and go right to the absolute, the source.
Page 25. This single page is the most shocking part of the whole document. This is where McDonald tries to describe the final destination, the source of literally everything.
He calls it the absolute, and he describes it as this infinite field of energy and consciousness. It exists completely outside of our time-space hologram. Think of it like the source code of the entire universe. It is fundamental reality.
So if that's the source code, what are we? What does that make you and me? Well, according to this report, we're not just physical bodies. We are, and I'm quoting here, energy holograms projected from the absolute. We're basically just fragments of this universal consciousness having an experience inside, what you could call a simulation.
And the implication of that is just profound. I mean, think about it. If we are just projections, just holograms, then death isn't the end. It can't be. It's just the hologram turning off, and our consciousness just returns to the source. So the report's ultimate conclusion? Death is an illusion. We are fundamentally immortal.
So this all leads to a pretty big question, right? If the government had a report that spelled out the secrets of life and death, why on earth was it buried for 20 years? This takes us to the sequel, Project Stargate, and why this knowledge was hidden.
Well, think about the dangers of knowing something like this. How do you control a population that knows it's immortal, that doesn't fear death? How do you command a soldier who truly believes he's just an energy hologram? Or motivate a worker to go to their 9 to 5 when they know that this reality is just a projection? This kind of knowledge doesn't just challenge authority, it completely breaks the chains of society.
But here's the kicker. The story doesn't just end with some wild theoretical paper being locked in a filing cabinet. No, the government didn't just study this stuff. They used it.
Coming up next, we're going to talk about Project Stargate, the psychic spies. Yeah, they took all this science and they built an actual top-secret unit of psychic spies. They called them remote viewers, and they used these exact techniques to do incredible things. Spy on Soviet military bases, find lost nuclear subs, and even look across time. The official name for the whole operation was Project Stargate.
And believe me, if you thought this gateway process stuff was strange, wait until you hear what they actually did with it. So next time we're opening the declassified files on Project Stargate, and we're going to talk about the final question. What did their top psychic spy see when he looked at Mars 1 million years ago?